about the water. When you listed all the ecosystem services, we're like, yeah, that's good. But there was one ecological disservice that ranked the highest for people. And that was undesirable wildlife. Undesirable wildlife. So, you know, they understood all this other stuff. They weren't too much worried about the weeding. There's a little more weeding. The curb appeal was okay. But the raccoons. I know, you know, we don't have so many raccoons here, but we've got armadillos. I have neighbors that don't like armadillos in their yard. And people don't like, you know, they kept trappers come. I had a neighbor that tore down his oak tree because he was tired of squirrels in his garden. So, I mean, people are crazy. What are you going to do? Well, my point is, that's the people that are out there. They're not all native plant people. They're not all professors of biology. They're just average person living in a house who isn't going to take the time and effort. They don't have the knowledge. And if I did a native yard in my yard, it would be surrounded by many, many acres of not that. So to go from where we are to any kind of realistic change is a huge change, huge change. And we'll talk about that. What limits the use of native plants? Social norms are what limits it. The normative, and it's not what you think inside, it's what society creates for you. Nurseries and horticultural industry has a long history of producing what they produce. They like exotic plants because they don't have insect pests. Developers and landscape architects, this is changing. Even Oviedo, where I live, mentions native plants in their ordinances. Building codes, HOAs, and all that have an effect to some degree. And then we have that ingrained, that's the important thing, is that ingrained aesthetic preference that people have. Maybe not people in this room, but most people. And lack of knowledge. People don't know what they don't know what a native plant is. What do you mean native plant? People don't know about plants. My neighbors always ask me to give them advice, and just the level of knowledge is not there. So the hurdle you have to jump over to really transform these landscapes is not insignificant. It does mean there's a huge potential, which is good, but it's hard. Now it is changing. We work with a lot of landscape architects who are prominent landscape architects in the region and in Florida who are very attuned to the use of native plants. A guy doing downtown campus is very attuned to native plants. AECOM, we've worked with them, very attuned to native plants. Most of them are going to change their design with us, but a lot of landscape architects, that design I showed you earlier, which was mostly all native plants, that is changing, but we do have a long way to go. Long way to go. And this just is the last slide I want to show you on that aesthetic preference. I thought I'll take a couple pictures when I'm driving around thinking about this talk. I took this the other day. What's that? What's that? Bidzalba. And after the hurricane, they got kind of lax on the mowing. So now all of Aloma and Dean and Alafaya Trail, all these medians are just covered in this weed, Bidzalba. And I stopped to take the picture. I thought I'll just look. And of course, I didn't even realize there was a bee in that picture when I took it. But there were 5 species of butterfly. I was there for like a minute. 2 species of dragonfly, multiple individuals of those butterflies, and God knows what else little things that were in there. So I thought, I'm just to show you that, you know, this is the aesthetic that people in the suburbs are looking for. There's no native species in here. I took the picture and I walked the whole length of that. I wasn't doing a scientific experiment, it's an anecdote. I saw one insect. One insect. I went up the road where there's a beautiful new Exora that they planted, this bright orange flower. No insects. I didn't see a single insect. Versus thousands and thousands of insects on this one stretch. So I think these little marginal areas, what we call weedy disturbed areas that you drive by on your way around, are very important for sustaining these natural functions. And we probably could go a long way in supporting them through the bioswales we talked about in other areas. Just let a little bit of wild around the edge and get rid of this Disney, whatever it is you're shooting for here. Now, like I said, ligustrum is a great pollinator plant, but not if you're trimming it like a mushroom. It can be a beautiful plant, and that's not what's being achieved here. But again, reminding you. Now, interestingly, the entrance to this neighborhood right here, Carolyn, had 2 firebush in the median, which I thought was fascinating. They're going native on us. But it is a big thing. A lot of cities are getting very interested in biodiversity, so to see things like this, they're competing now. You've got things like this, biodiversity, and the Missouri Botanical Garden starting to work on this. Here in Orlando, I think, we're starting through the initiative, and I'm just so proud, Eric, to hear him give that proclamation. I mean, that is a special thing right there. Maybe we should give them a standing ovation, because that was a beautiful proclamation, and it had exactly what we're talking about right in it. And that's what you need. You need the cities and the ordinances and the people who are proclaiming to proclaim it, and that helps us get a long way to going to where we want to go. So way to go, Orlando. They have pollinator garden and tree planting as the two major initiatives. I'd like to see them maybe stick a little biodiversity in there, make it broader, which would be great. But it's a great start, and of course, Chris Castro runs that shop, and he's a great guy, and I'm sure more great things will come out of that. So let's make Orlando a more biodiverse city. Thank you for your time.